oh my God, I just spilled tea all down my shirt. And he said, yeah, never mind about that. Have you got a safety pin? Because the zip on my trousers is broken. Just before we kind of talk about what Blue Monday is or what it isn't, do you want to just tell everybody that's on? I think we've got nearly 300 people on.
Wow.
Which is incredible. And I am well aware that they're all here for you and not really me. Although, so do you want to just say a little bit about your story and your journey and things that you kind of been doing at the moment, and also kind of how you found lockdown, because this has been tough, right? This particular lockdown.
This particular one has been really hard. I found it much harder than the first one. I think because, you know, it's winter and it's pretty grey and grim. And yeah, January, it's been, I know a lot of people have found it really, really, really tricky. Yeah, I definitely have, But well, I guess my story starts years ago when I was diagnosed with something called schizoaffective disorder, which is like a combination of schizophrenia and bipolar. And yeah, I was really unwell throughout my 20s. You know, I'm in a better place now. I still have relapses and go into hospital, but I'm in a much better place now. But I guess, yeah, people might know me from my story, the documentary that you mentioned, which was I basically tried to track down the guy that taught me off a bridge when I was really unwell all those years ago. Amazingly, we found him through the power of social media. We tracked this guy down and we were reunited. And yeah, it was made into this documentary, The Stranger on the Bridge, which came out in 2015. And since then, been sort of campaigning in mental health. And my big focus is young people, youth mental health. And we set up a charity called Beyond just over 2 years ago. So yeah, that's what I'm really, really passionate about is young people's mental health, particularly now with what's going on. I mean, you know, young people off schools, it's really hard. And of course, it's really hard for parents and teachers. It's hard for everyone. It's hard for everyone, to be honest.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think, you know, everybody I speak to lately, certainly in the last month since Christmas, has really been struggling in one way or another for all different kind of reasons. You know, you've got amazing parents who are homeschooling and trying to juggle workloads. You've got people who are living on their own. You've got people, you know, who are kind of in couples, but also trying to manage busy workloads, lots of Zoom calls. And on top of that, the weather has been rubbish. And I think all these things, actually, that's kind of where we've got to with Blue Monday. So do you know what the science is behind Blue Monday and how it came about? Do you know?
So can I be completely honest? I kind of take Blue Monday with a pinch of salt. Yeah, just because it's like, you know, my mental health is doing okay-ish at the moment. But there's been Januaries in the past where I've been really struggling. And everyone just focuses on that one day, Blue Monday, and then it's like, it's all forgotten. But, you know, for people that are constantly living with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, whatever it is, you know, it's not just one day, it carries on. It just, I don't know, just frustrating. It's the same with kind of mental health awareness days and weeks. There's such a focus on those days and weeks, but, you know, for people that have mental health issues, it goes on, and we got to keep talking about it, keep raising awareness, not just that one day or that 1 week. So I get a little bit, I try and, I don't know, not get too bogged down with it, if that makes sense.
It does, and it's perfect actually, because what I was about to say was exactly that. So Blue Monday, and for anybody that is, you know, kind of thinking today, you know, we hear it's on everything at the moment. You know, it's on, first thing I woke up this morning on Radio 2, they're talking about Blue Monday, you know, and actually you kind of take that in and start thinking you should be feeling a bit crappy today, because, you know, it is the worst day, the most depressing day of the year is what they say. But actually, part of why we wanted to do today is kind of debunk that whole thing, because actually it isn't true. So Blue Monday was set up by a psychologist. His name is Cliff Arnold, and basically he was asked by Sky Travel to come up with a formula that resulted in Blue Monday. So he came up with this formula that Sky Travel used to kind of sell their winter holidays. So what he did, he used several things. I'll read you what they are. So he used the weather, he used debt, monthly salary, time since Christmas, time since failing our New Year's resolutions, low motivational levels, and the feeling of a need to take action. So the feeling to kind of, feel better about things. But actually, very few of those things are numerically quantifiable. So it actually doesn't really make any sense. And if you Google Blue Monday, you'll find, there's an awful lot about the pseudoscience around it. It's actually not scientifically true. So that's one reason to feel better about today, that actually it doesn't even exist.
Amazing.
But I think the reason behind why it's landed with people over the years is because there is some truth in the fact that January is a tough month anyway. Like you said, I think sometimes Januaries can be hard for people. There is that feeling of things to kind of, our diaries seem a bit emptier, don't they, sometimes? And what this year has done is kind of exacerbated that. It's bleak out there. There is no real way of kind of, seeing it any other way, is there? So, but what we're here to do today is kind of look at some of the things we could do to make ourselves feel better. So you said to me earlier, you've got some things to show for your self-care. What have you got?
Well, do you know what the main thing that I use for self-care, this might sound a bit weird, but I got an acupressure mat a year or so ago. Have you seen these before?
No. Are they like the nails?
And you think to yourself, well, how's that like sort of self-care? But when I got it, it really hurt when I used to lie on it. And I mean, it takes a while to sort of get used to the pain, but now I just feel this amazing sort of like literal like weight coming off like my body when I lie on it. Like, I guess, yeah, that's what it does. Like it relieves pressure. So when I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed, I just go and I lie on this, and I really do feel like the as I say, the tension just coming away from my body. We hold so much tension, don't we, in our body? So this is like for me, my number one sort of self-care thing at the moment. And I'd really recommend, I mean, I think we got ours on Amazon. So yeah, and they're not that expensive. So that's my sort of
So
tip.
they're like a spiky yoga mat.
Yeah, it is for sure. Absolutely, it is.
No, I've not heard of them. I might give that a go.
Yeah,
acupuncture is actually really good for you, isn't it? A lot of people talk about it.
it's really good, and this, I guess, acts as sort of like a mini acupuncturist. Yeah. I guess
your own little personal one.
What's that?
Your own little personal.
Yeah, exactly. It is. So I'd recommend. Actually, the other thing I've got here, just quickly, is that I find really useful is a weighted blanket.
Yes, I've heard of those. They're like a cuddle, aren't they?
Yeah, it really does feel like it. I mean, it's really heavy. I've only got a mini one actually, but again, when I'm feeling anxious, or actually when I can't sleep, I just put this over my duvet, and it feels like a hug. Feels like you're being like held. And again, I just think it's really good for like the body. Yeah. And we know the body and the mind, they're kind of so interlinked. So it's really useful.
They really are so interlinked. I think, I hope one day we actually just have kind of health training of some kind. We don't have physical first aid. We don't have mental health first aid. We just have first aid for everything. Because, why do we separate it? And I don't think that helps with the stigma either, that they're seen as two different things, really.
Exactly. 100%.
So we have had, right, I was just going to say, if people want to pop in the chat, so we have disabled it a little bit just so they're not popping up all the time. But if you've got a question, please pop it in the chat. Somebody's looking at them and they'll send them through so we can read them out, all right? But we have had a couple come through, so I'm going to start with them because I knew our time would go quickly. So
yeah,
see what you think with this, Jonny. Okay, so Simon's asked, what would you say? Oh, well, you probably answered that actually with your acupuncture thing. The one thing that's kind of helped your lockdown days seem easier, apart from your kind of hug and your acupuncture, what would you say?
Well, I think for me, having a routine, I think is really important, and particularly a morning routine. So at the moment, actually, I'm doing something. It's called the 30-day or 31-day mindfulness mornings challenge. It's on the app Insight Timer. I don't know if you know. It's do you know the app Insight Timer? So it's every morning there's a different person doing a sort of meditation. So today was Russell Brand actually, and he was really good. But yeah, I think having a routine in the mornings, and not, what I used to do is jump out of bed, read the news, check my phone, but actually unwinding to kind of start the day. I know that's hard if you've got a family, if you've got kids to sort of entertain, but if you can just find a little, I don't know, section of your morning to ground yourself and to really check in with yourself, I think it's really useful. But yeah, having a routine throughout the day and making sure you stop for breaks and having cups of tea, and actually having breaks, getting up off your desk and taking a walk, just somewhere around the house even. Otherwise you can just literally get glued to your desk and your seat and your kind of emails, and it's not good. What about you? What do you do?
Well, actually, it's funny you said that, because somebody gave me some advice a little while ago about the routine thing, and they said to do exactly that. So wake up in the morning and try and have an hour at least where you kind of don't look at your phone or your the news, and then you decide when you're ready to let the rest of the world in. Yeah. And I really like that, and I think that does kind of help. It does take a while, because I mean we're also addicted to our phones and our and the news coming on. I mean we set our alarm in the morning to come on at 8:05 because I don't like to wake up to the news, so we do it just after it's
But don't blame at all. I completely get that. Yeah.
So I think routine is a good one, and it can be hard, but also not a really don't be hard on yourself. Set a routine, but it can be an easy one. Even if it's just come down, have a bit of breakfast, stand out and feel the fresh air or something. It doesn't, we often think these things have to be complicated when they don't, I think.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah, I think routine is a great one. All right, we've had a couple of others okay, so the app that you just mentioned there, what was it called? Can you just...
So it's called Insight Timer, and it's free on the App Store, and it's amazing. So they've got regular meditations, relaxations, visualizations, but they have groups as well. Like there's I'm part of all different sorts of groups, like gay men meditating and all sorts of different things. It's a really cool app, and it's free, which is great.
Is the way gay men meditate different to the rest of
us? No, I don't really know why we've got our own group, to be honest. Nice, because you connect with people all around the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know, it's a good point.
Well, I think you're right as well. I think all those, and Headspace is also a very good app if people don't have it. It's free. You can pay for different bits on it, but predominantly it's free, and that's a really nice one as well. And I think stuff like mindfulness, like you were just saying with your mat and kind of laying and being grounded, it can take a while to kind of practice and feel not feel silly. I know I used to do it, and I used to be really immature and think it was silly, and laugh and think people were watching me. But once you kind of master the power of just taking a minute, even if it is 1 minute, you don't have to sit for 20 minutes. The power of that kind of just being and feeling grounded is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me now, I've done a lot of practice on breathwork, and just I'm really lucky that I can sort of, if I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed or there's a lot going on, I can really tune into my breath. And actually there's a really useful thing that I was taught. It's called the 4-7-8, and you basically, do you know it?
Yeah. It's actually really good. Yeah.
It's really good for calming the nervous system. So you breathe in for 4 through your nose, you hold for 7, and then you breathe out through your mouth for 8, and really breathe out, really kind of make a sound when you're breathing out, and you just repeat that for the 4-7-8, and it's really calming. The breath is just such a useful tool if you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, whatever it is. But it takes practice, like you say.
It does. But yeah, lovely. Okay, we've had another question. So Paige has asked, how would you cope mentally in lockdown with the unknown fact that we do not know how long these restrictions will last and when life could possibly ever go back to normal and not the new normal?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really,
it's a tough one.
It's the not knowing. I think I find that really hard. Yeah, because if we knew that when the end date was, it would be so much easier. But I think for me, I mean, what I'm doing is I'm planning things for when we come out of lockdown, whenever that is. If it's March or May or whatever it is, I'm planning stuff. I'm mentally, I'm concentrating on the stuff that I want to do as soon as we come out of lockdown, like go to gigs. Like I can't wait to go to live music.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm planning gigs. I'm talking to and talking to people about, future plans with your friends, with your family, what you want to do when you come out of lockdown. For me, that's really useful. I mean, you don't have to set a specific date because we don't know when it's going to be, but just to plan for the future, I think is we know it's going to happen. It is going to happen, hopefully in a few months. And I just think someone said to me the other day that they reckon this summer's like going to be like the summer of love, like a sort of like summer of love, because we've all been in lockdown. We're going to come out. It's going to be the summer, and we're all going to sort of, I don't know. Yeah, like
I think you're right. I think as soon as I'm allowed to hug anyone, I'm just going to touch anyone I can. But we've all missed. I'm not really. That's just a joke. But I think we've all missed that human contact, haven't we? We probably didn't realise how much we missed it until it's been taken away. Mm-hmm. How much a hug from your friend, or just touching someone's hand or their arm to comfort them and things like that.
Absolutely.
I think so. I think you're right. I think we could be in for a great summer, and even if this summer isn't what we hope, then next summer will be. So You're right. It is coming, but it's just taken a while. And I think the other thing I'd perhaps add to that page is, although kind of planning for the future is brilliant because it gives us stuff to look forward to, which we definitely need. I think to get through day to day, sometimes just planning the next hour or your next, what you're going to do this afternoon, instead of worrying what you're going to do next Tuesday, because we don't know whether we're going to, have different rules again. It changes all the time. So I think sometimes, as well as the whole plan in the future, just plan what you can do today, what you can control. Because I think that's a big part of it. We feel out of control at the moment.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
So, yeah. Hopefully that helps a bit. So we've also had about 3 questions that are very, very similar. So I think, as I said earlier, I think a lot of people are feeling the same way. So kind of how to avoid going down a rabbit hole with our negative thoughts and catastrophizing, and how do we so some of the questions are basically, how would we avoid that cycle of negative thoughts, that we do all have, because everything seems so doom and gloomy. What can we do to kind of try to lift ourselves and stop those thoughts? Because it's hard, isn't it? It is difficult when they start coming in.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard. I had that not last night, I think the night before, and went down that rabbit hole so quickly. There was, I don't know, I was getting a lot of bad news. I think it was Saturday, and it just all got a bit too much. I think, and actually, this is on my mug. Be kind.
Yeah.
But be kind to yourself when you are feeling that way, when you're going down that sort of rabbit hole. So I like to practice self-compassion, and actually I have at the moment I have something called CFT, which is compassion focused therapy. I have every week on Zoom, which is so helpful for me, because we can really beat ourselves up. We're so self-critical, particularly when we go down that rabbit hole, and then I shouldn't be thinking this, and really kind of judgmental on ourselves. So I try and do like a self-compassion sort of practice. When I go down there, I get on my mat, get on my acupressure mat, and there's again like Insight Timer. This app has loads of like self-compassion practices. So I really get in touch with and a lot of the self-compassion practices are really tuning into the heart, and they'll say, place your hands on your heart, and keep them there for a while. And again, for me, I think it's taken a lot of practice, but I can't, as soon as I put my hands on my heart, things start to feel easier for me. So yeah, I think being really, really kind, particularly during this time, to ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
if you haven't, like for me, you know, I started off the new year. I ate so much bad food over Christmas, and I said, right, new year, new start. We're what's six? How many days in? I don't know, but I've just eaten rubbish food the whole of January. But I'm not going to beat myself up because, you know, it's a difficult time, and work's really busy and stressful. So yeah, I think, you know, not beating yourself up is key for me.
It is. I heard an interesting thing the other day on a Zoom I was on, that we're terrible at believing all the negative thoughts and not accepting the positive ones. So I think the saying was, with the negative thoughts, our brain is like Velcro. So the negative thoughts stick and the positive thoughts just slide off like Teflon. And that really stuck with me, because I mean, I do it all the time. You know, you could have 10 amazing comments, but it's the one negative thing that actually, you know, you keeps you awake. So, but it does take power to kind of try to, like you say, stop those. You know, it is possible, but it takes a bit of practice. And you just also, I think, sometimes accepting them, letting them come, and then letting them go, and then that's it. You know, accepting that they're there, and then letting them go again.
I think as well, something that I find really useful is I keep a gratitude journal every night, which I find really useful. And so I write down 3 things every night that I'm grateful for in general, but then I write down 3 things that I like about myself that day.
Nice.
And yeah, I find it's really, really helpful. And, you know, keeping that up is really useful, not just doing it like here and there, but actually sticking to that and doing it every day. Yeah, I find that helpful.
Do you find it easy to stick to? Because I keep doing this. I've got lots of diaries and bits of paper where I've started it, been brilliant for like 8 days, and then I've got 3 weeks where I've forgotten to write in it. And then, you know, so again, it takes practice, doesn't it? And I think I really like your be kind. I have that in the back of my office at home. I have it put on the wall, because for me, I think, you know, you can do all the training, you can do all the qualifications there are to do when it comes to mental health, but actually being kind to other people and to yourself is the one thing that will often save people, I think.
Yeah, especially during this time.
Yeah.
You know, I see social media like Twitter. I mean, there's it can be really difficult, social media, particularly Twitter. There is a lot of unkindness. You know, you tweet something out and you can get some really, you know, something really innocent, and you get really horrible, nasty replies. And that's tough, especially again during this. But there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of, you know, angry people out there. There's a lot of people that are upset, that are frustrated. And I think, you know, I try and I used to really take it to heart, you know, getting negative feedback, particularly on social media. But I try and now, again, take it with a bit of a pinch of salt and try and look at where they're coming from, what's going on with them. Yeah.
It is hard though, and I think you're right. It says more about them than it does about you. But there's a brilliant, and this is for anybody who wants a bit of a giggle as well. John Richardson, the comedian, he did a really great show. It was an hour. I think it was called The Old Man Tour. Anyway, there's a very funny bit about trolls. You should have a watch of it. And just reframing how we see them, because, you know, it's upsetting for a lot of people, but really we need to accept them as they are, and, you know, not let them get to us, but it can be hard. Okay, so another question. So Alexandra said, I'd like to know what symptoms someone should look out for if they think they're suffering with depression or anxiety. She appreciates that they're all different, but what are the more common signs for someone who may be suffering? What should we look out for? That's actually a really good question, because I think at the moment, I think we're all feeling, you know, to an extent very low. So how do we differentiate between a low mood and potentially somebody who has depression? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, that they say that, you know, if something persists for 2 weeks or more, then, you know, maybe not always, but it might be a sign. Well, it's definitely a sign to talk, to get support, to speak to your GP. And I've spoken to quite a few GPs who who say to me that, people aren't coming to them because they think that, obviously the coronavirus, the vaccine is taking up a lot of people's time within the NHS, but GPs are still there. The doors are still open, even if it is online, even if it is over the phone, they're still there. So, and, I think it's really, again, I think a lot of people are always quite frightened and anxious to go to the GP and say what's going on. But my experience has been mostly good. Well, actually, it's been mixed, but in more recent years, it's been, because I think there's more training, it's been better with GPs in terms of when I talk to them about my mental health, they're much more understanding and empathetic and, can give support. So I think it's really important if it does persist for, as I say, 2 weeks or more to speak, or if you can't speak to your GP, then there's loads of different support lines out there, or there's, tech services such as Shout, which are really, really great. They're there 24/7, 365 days a year. But I think the most important thing is to share it with someone if it is persisting, for sure.
Yeah, I think the 2 weeks thing is a good kind of benchmark, really. We at Pawsitivi-tea, we run a course, our mental health first aid Be Aware course, and on that we look at kind of the signs and symptoms and how long they've perhaps been going on for, and then kind of after 2 weeks to perhaps go and, like you say, have a chat. It doesn't mean that they're going to give you a diagnosis. It doesn't mean you're going to be put on medication, which I think some people get scared of, but you can just talk it through, and the power of talking, so I think whether it's for you or whether it's for others, I think that kind of educational piece around signs and symptoms to look out for, whether that's on a course or whether it's talking to your friends and family, is paramount, really. And so to answer Alexandra's question on some of the symptoms, I think, and chip in if you like, so depression, anxiety. Depression, I would say looking out for a change in behaviour in someone, which can be trickier at the moment, of course, because we're not seeing people, but whether someone's normally very chatty and sociable, perhaps they've withdrawn a bit, low moods. You can often tell when you talk to someone, I think, a change in their voice as well. Someone who kind of got no motivation, isn't sleeping very well, particularly, perhaps isn't eating very well. So have you got any others, perhaps, Jonny? Kind of.
Well, I was going through thinking about the fact that, for me personally at the moment, there's quite a few males in my life that, it's hard for them to communicate, and, I know I think they're struggling, and I'm trying to reach out and communicate with them. But, and I noticed actually on this Zoom that, when I look through the people here, it is majority, well, they're not male, which isn't really a surprise. It's so hard to get men engaged in this stuff. I don't know about you, if you find that. So I think, if you are worried about someone else, if you're seeing someone else a change, just do reach out to them. But if you're not getting a response, don't be afraid to go back. There's a great campaign called Ask Twice by Time to Change, the charity Time to Change, which is all about going back and not being afraid to ask again if someone's doing all right. And again, I mean, as I said, there's a couple of men in my life actually that really, really hard to get them to open up, to answer back. So I very gently, very gently sort of keep going back to them and just checking in, and just sometimes it is just a simple WhatsApp. And maybe they will get back one day and just explain how they're feeling, but then they'll go quiet again. But I think the most important thing is to kind of be consistent with your checking in, and letting them know that you're there for them when they're ready. But it's hard, isn't it?
It is hard. And I think as well, there's a couple of things as well. You can be honest about your stuff. So you could be honest and say, how are you feeling today? My day's been awful, because actually you also find if you're kind of honest, it breeds honesty, so that that can help. But I remember you taught me, I think it was you, when you were talking about your dad, that shoulder to shoulder technique for men. Do you want to just tell everyone about that, because I think that's really important actually.
Yeah, it is, and unfortunately at the moment we can't do that because of the restrictions. But I think, well, when I was unwell, me and my dad's quite sort of quite conservative and not very well. He wasn't very open. He is now, but yeah, me and my dad used to have chats in the car, because it was easier than having to look at someone and talk. I always found it hard face to face therapy or whatever it was, friends. I always found it hard, but talking shoulder to shoulder was much easier. And that is trickier now because we're in lockdown. I mean, I think we can still meet that one person, can't we, for a walk?
So.
I would recommend, if you're worried about someone or if you're struggling, reach out to someone and ask for a walk, because that's really helpful. I think, and if, avoid Zoom if you want to have that conversation, because it is hard, I think, looking directly, at one another. So maybe just do a simple phone call or, FaceTime audio if you need to talk to someone, if you want to get someone else to open up, because I do think the face-to-face can be really, really tricky.
It can. The whole Zoom thing, actually, as important as it is that we check in with people, it can be a bit Zoom overload or Teams or whatever it is your companies are using. And somebody shared with me on a course the other day that what they do with their check-ins is they go for a walk with that person, but they separately. So they plop their headphones in and they'll go out and about. So again, you don't have to see people. You're just chatting, on the phone when they're doing their kind of well-being check-ins. So that's quite nice as well, that you kind of kill a few birds with one stone, because you go out, you have a walk, get some fresh air, and you don't have to see someone virtually, and you get a break away from your desk. So I think actually that's a really good one to do.
Like that.
One of the questions that come in was kind of, how do we look after somebody who's, when we're in lockdown, people that are living alone, how do you manage those, as a manager? And I think that's a nice one to be able to do. To take them, suggest you go for a virtual walk and you can catch up. Half of it can be about work, half of it could be about, how their days are and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because I think I've been on so many Zoom calls and things where it is just about work, and it's just nice to have a little bit of chat. I know that some companies are doing a bit of a meditation when they first check in to a Zoom meeting. They'll do a meditation or a sort of breathing sort of technique for 5 minutes. Because it's not sometimes, like I know when I get to like 5 p.m. and I jump onto a Zoom, and actually it happened the other day. I think it was like Thursday evening. It was like 5 p.m. I jumped onto a Zoom with someone that I hadn't met actually, and for work, and we both just were like, oh my gosh, do you know what? Like overload. And we both just had a chat about something other than work, to like, because we both, I think we saw in each other that we were so like tired and overwhelmed with Zoom that we just needed a little bit of a chat about non-work, just even small talk, otherwise it can be really intense, jumping from work meetings to work meetings to work meetings throughout the day, and we need a break.
We do. We need to stop glamorizing busy. I've said that for a while, and I think it's, we do it. I've got a corporate background, and we worked full on all the time, often kind of 15, 16-hour days, and you feel guilty for saying, oh, I need to be home for 6 tonight because I'm doing such and such, or I'm gonna go and take my lunch break today, because you'd feel bad, and sometimes you'd be made to feel bad. And we need to stop doing that. We need to be kinder, like you said, to ourselves, have those breaks, go and finish at 5 if you need to finish at 5, finish at 3 on a Friday if you need to finish, So I think those things are really important in looking after ourselves. And We've literally got a few minutes left. I know. I knew that would go fast.
No.
We have to do these again. So, okay, I think we'll finish with, let's have a think. So thanks everybody for all your questions, by the way. We've had loads come in. We will run another one. So to wrap up, one thing people can take away to look after themselves, I think, would be a good way to end. So what's your one? I know what mine is.
I think for mine, I know I've mentioned it before, but I think, I can't emphasize it enough, that the being kind to yourself. And actually, this might sound a bit silly, but even talking to yourself, I know I talk to myself sometimes, even in the mirror, and just saying nice things to yourself if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, or things are too much, you know, I'll say to myself, it's okay. It's okay. I just think reassuring yourself is so key. And, you know, we do it with other people. You know, I know myself, if a friend or family member is struggling, you know, I'm the first person to be like, it's okay, don't worry, and really reassure them and really like comfort them. But we don't do that to ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it takes practice. I mean, it's definitely taken me a lot of practice to, you know, when I'm seeing myself being really critical that, you know, I haven't done enough work today, I haven't got all those emails done, like I haven't been eating healthy, I will check in with myself and say, Jonny, it's fine, don't worry, you know, it's okay. And I think it really helps. It really helps. Don't be afraid to, you know, people say, oh, people that talk to themselves are crazy, but actually I think it's healthy if you have a dialogue with
Definitely.
yourself.
Yeah.
We've got to live with this, so, you know, might as well treat ourselves with some kindness.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's perfect. I think my one tip would be, and I bang on about it all the time, but it's always the one on the courses that people remember, is maintain your shed. So shed stands for sleep, hydrate, exercise, and diet. And if you think of them as like 4 little test tubes, kind of, you know, keep them as full as you can. So try to get as much sleep as you can. Even if you have a nap in the afternoon, you know, sleep, your body will tell you when you need to sleep. Drink water, you know, squash juice, herbal teas. You know, exercise doesn't mean you've got to go out at the gym and cane it. Just means walking around the block and getting some fresh air. And diet, you know, just trying to eat some good stuff. But it is hard. I mean, I know I eat bad stuff all the time, really, but you know, trying to kind of keep that up as well. So I think they would be my two, really.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just before we go then, Jonny, so your documentary, we've had a couple of questions on where they can watch it. I think it's still on Channel 4, isn't it? If you
Yeah, it's on Channel 4 OD on their website. It's called The Stranger on the Bridge, and it's available now.
can check that out. And also your just quickly before we go, your festival for the children on Inside Out Day on 3rd of Feb.
Yeah.
Where can people find out about that? So you're doing an amazing thing for the young children.
Yeah, we've got this mental health festival that we are running on the 3rd of Feb. It's all online, and we've got 800 schools now that have signed up, which is amazing. And we've got over 300 people running sessions in the schools, online, virtually. Things like mindfulness, breathworks, resilience. So we're looking for more people to run sessions. If anyone is interested in running a session for young people, we've also got stuff for teachers and parents in the evening. But yeah, we'd love people to sign up to be a host. We'd love more schools to get involved. All the information is on our website, which is oh my gosh, I've just now it's called Now and Beyond. I should know this. .org.uk. Basically, the festival is called Now and Beyond. If you have a look online, you'll find it.
Yeah, amazing. All right, Jonny, thanks so much for your time. Thank you, everyone who's logged on. It's been amazing. We've had such a lovely response. I'm sorry we haven't got through all your questions. Just to let you know that, you know, jump on Jonny's website, jump on the Paws in Work website. It says everything about all our training sessions we do, our future webinars and bits and pieces. And I think given the success of today with you, Jonny, we'll get you back and we'll do some more questions and answers because it's been amazing. But have a lovely day, everyone. Be kind to yourself. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.